I definitely feel when you offer something of value, the money will come. And that's one of the lessons that I've learned. So I learned not to put like, oh, I gotta make money, I gotta make money. Like we want to make money, don't get me wrong. But when you offer something of value, like the money just naturally just comes, right? And so I've always been a person that wants to offer value.
Hello, and welcome to the Randall Osché Podcast, where honest conversations take the lead. Each week, we sit down with entrepreneurs, artists, thinkers, and change makers to unpack how they got from there to here and what they learned along the way. Real stories, no filters, lessons earned through experience. So you can take what's useful and leave the rest. Whether you're tuning in during your commute, a workout, or while making dinner, we're glad you're here. So take a seat, relax, grab a cup of tea, and join in the conversation. Now, let's get into this week's episode.
Hyacinth Tucker, founder of The Laundry Basket. Welcome to the show. For the people who don't know you yet, why don't you go ahead and take a quick moment and introduce yourself.
Awesome. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're calling it from. So I am Hyacinth, as Randall has said, and I am the owner of The Laundry Basket. I'm a military veteran who found a way of turning Laundry Day into something that's more celebrated and no longer a dirty word.
Okay. So you can count me as one of those people who despises doing laundry. I don't so much, I'd rather not do it, but I don't mind washing. But by the time it's either hanging up or in the dryer, the task of like getting it from that state to folded, hung up, put away is what I find personally challenging. But I was reading your story a little bit, and I think you had a bit of an interesting aha moment of how you started to go down this path. So if you don't mind sharing, how did this idea come to be?
Sure. Well, first, I'll address the fact that laundry is a thing that a lot of people hate. It actually is one of the second most hated household chores. So if it's not the sorting, it's the washing, or it's the drying, or it's the folding, or it's the putting away. So most people fall in one of those categories of like, I like this, but I hate that. So you're definitely not alone. So, and I definitely was one of those people too. So this is not something I aspired to be when I was young. I didn't say, hey, when I grew up, I want to be the laundry lady. But, this is how life happens sometimes. So I went to go visit a friend. And so this is July of 2022. And I walk into her living room and there's clothes everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. And she starts telling me about how tired she is and frustrated and overwhelmed when it comes to laundry. And we laugh about it, right? Because, it's funny. It's like, yeah, who likes to do laundry? But what I realized is that she's buying new clothes instead of washing the clothes that she had. So that's where it got a little serious, right? And we're not talking about like a pair of underwear. That's normal. But we're talking about full-on outfits. And so I hated that much that I'm going to go and spend money on a full outfit instead of doing it. So that's when I was like, okay, this is definitely a problem and it's something I can help her with. And there's a lot of people that have the same need. So that was my aha moment.
What's the first most hated household chore?
The first is washing dishes, which is surprising.
Oh, I run into the same problem with dishes. I don't mind washing them necessarily, putting them in the dishwasher, but getting from the clean state to like the put away and back to neat.
Yeah.
I'm airing my dirty laundry on the podcast.
No pun intended.
Pun. Yeah, exactly. So, for like a situation like that, there's an individual, and I think maybe this was went into your calculus for the business, who doesn't have the time, right? Yeah. People want to do it, but like life is messy, literally and figuratively, where you got a ton of things to do, raise kids, job, spouses, partners, work, events, things like that. And if we had it our way, we wouldn't have to do a lot of those other things and we could just take care of ourselves. But that's not life. But this person, like your friend, had made the calculation, I don't have the capacity to do it or whatever, and I'm just going to replace or buy new clothes, which is a financial expense.
Yeah.
So seemingly they had money to throw at this problem to solve the problem. They just might not have been doing it in the most beneficial way for them and probably for the planet of just buying more things that you don't need. Is that fair to say?
That is very fair to say. Yeah.
Okay. So we have an idea.
Yeah.
I love a good idea. I think ideas are great, but everybody has ideas. Where like the magic happens, where the value's added is in the execution of that nugget of an idea, right? So how did you, from July 2022 to getting the business off the ground, maybe what were some of those early steps of what sort of tactical moves did you have to make to start to get you on the path where you're at today?
Right. So I think that you touched on the first part, right? Because everyone does have ideas. It is, do I have an idea that people are going to want? And are they going to pay for it, right? So that's always the thing. Because, yeah, I can, do a lot of different things. But am I going to find enough people that are going to pay for it where it actually makes sense that I actually quit my job and do this, right? And so that was the first thing, is like just make sure I was proving the model of what I was doing, right? So my model was, I can come and I can do your laundry. I can pick it up. I can sort it, wash it, dry it, fold it, package it, and bring it back to you. And that's all I had. So I didn't have like what was going to be my price and what was going to be the time period that I bring it back and, what kind of detergents you can use. It was really loose. And it wasn't until I went to like a mom's group. And I was just, just talking, like, how you just like, oh, how was your week and how's everything going on? I just happened to mention that. And the look on everyone's face was like, oh my gosh, you're doing laundry. Can you do mine as well? And so that was kind of my like, okay, there's a model here that other people want. So now it's like, how do I make it a business? So I actually asked them, I said, okay, well, you guys are going to be my first pilot and you're going to be like my focus group. So they put their names and the numbers down. And then I actually had something a couple of weeks after where I had a Zoom meeting and I talked to them and I was like, okay, so how much would you pay? And how often would you use this service? And what are some things I need to think about? And, all those different things. And that's where I kind of crafted it. And even then, I still was like, I'm still not sure, because until I get money in pocket, because, people could say a lot. Like, oh, I'll buy your thing. I'll do that. I'll support you. And then when it comes down to taking the dollar bill out, then somehow there's a problem, right? I thought we were all on the same page, but but I actually did offer that service to them. They did pay. And so I was like, okay, how do we continue to make this bigger? So I was doing it out of my home, obviously. And it got to a point where it started to get a little overwhelming. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to take this out of my home. And it was a lot of driving. So I didn't account for like gas and my time and everything like that. So then I had to really sit down and really evaluate the price that I was charging. And then I wanted to like do some marketing. So I wasn't ready for, let's say, actual website, but I went and got some business cards on Vistaprint and I would like post them up at the grocery store and hand them out to people. And it was still kind of loosey-goosey until it just wasn't. So I think after we made our first $500, I said, okay, let me now legitimize it. Let me become like an LLC and, get a bank account and all the stuff that you're supposed to do when you really, start a business. So yeah, but I took steps. So I didn't just jump out there and just like, voila. I kind of took steps.
Yeah, I love that. A bunch of stuff to unpack there. So I do try to, like, as we have these conversations, pick out themes. And I think one of the themes or principles, I suppose it might be, is like starting before you're ready. I think a lot of people get in this rut of having an idea, but they aren't ready to execute yet because they're in this phase of planning to plan to plan. But you just sort of like started doing it. And that's something that I probably was previously one of those like planning to plan people, but I've evolved into I'm just going to start doing it and then figure it out as I go, because that's how you're going to learn, right? Like you're not going to become a good writer by planning to be a good writer and reading books about writing. You have to write in order to craft the skill. But how many people were like the moms group that you went to? How many people? That wasn't like your group. That was just a group,
That was
and you socialized what you were doing. There was enough social interest, and then you took it a step further. Like, how many people were in that group?
So I think in the total group, it may have been like 30, 40. Who was there at that particular day? It was more maybe like 20. So 20 people, and I think out of those 20 people, like 12 people signed up for the service. You know, said that they wanted more information or to give them a call, because it's a thing, right? We all have to, you know, stay clean, be clean, and it's a need for a lot of people. So I tell people now, it's like, you know, because I'm in such a niche market, like sometimes it's a little bit easier for me to market and that type of thing, because I can always find someone that's just like, oh, I hate it. You know, if you're like, let's just say an accountant, you have to find someone who really needs that service. You got to do a little deeper digging. But for me, it was more of like, in a room of 5 people, probably half.
Yeah.
You don't have that issue.
Yeah. And then out of those 12 people that signed up, they signed up for additional information.
Yeah.
And then they sort of became your focus group, right?
Yes.
And then out of those 12 people who were interested in more information, who became your first paying out of like that group? How many of them have paid you for your services since then?
9.
Oh, dang. Good for you.
But I remember when I first started, though, my pricing was different, right? Because I didn't have any. So at that time, I didn't really have anybody that I can look to say, oh, okay, well, how much is this? So it was a kind of unique thing. I guess they're laundry services, but I was like, So I was only charging like $20. So it was literally like a $20 bill can get you like your laundry done. Folded, packaged, smelling good, and in your hands, you know. So that was the motto at the beginning. I say that with a grain of salt when I say, 9 people signed up.
Yeah. I mean, there's huge companies out there. Uber is one of them as well. They've been around, like, I think they're profitable now, but I think for the first like 5 years or something, they weren't turning a profit. And I think there's a misconception of people who want to start small businesses that you have to be profitable from the very beginning. And like, of course, you got to make enough money to put food on the table, but I've learned that it's unrealistic expectation to start this venture, have it all figured out, and be able to be profitable within the first month, 2 months, 3 months.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you're still just figuring it out. It's like levels, right? Because now it's finding people who pay, but then there's also making sure that you get some money at the end of the day after you've done everything and you've accounted for all your expenses. Do I still have money to put in my pocket? So yeah, definitely levels to it.
You started before you were ready, and then you were like learning and growing through the process. One of the things that you quickly understood was probably not charging enough because there was things that you didn't account for, probably weren't like considering your time as much as you should be, like the time to travel, the time to do the laundry, plus wear and tear on your car, or like even gas, mileage, etc. We're learning as you went, and we're refining your pricing model and your services, correct?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. All of those things, and even packaging, even supplies. You'll be surprised how much supplies cost, especially when you're buying like a lot of it. It's different when you buy for your house. You're like, oh, let me just grab this. But when you're doing it for a group of people, those supplies go really fast, and you have to get like a lot because one person likes this. And that was the other thing. Like, we were personalizing everything. So it was like, oh, what do you like? You like that? Okay. You like this? Okay. What do you put on your, like, it was kind of, we want to make sure it's the same experience that they would have if they were doing it. So yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that stuck out to me from your initial introduction there, I'm assuming somewhere between July 2022 and probably the end of the year, so we're still in 2022, you did some marketing, but what you said was like you got the business cards, right? And then you went to some grocery stores and put those on the cork boards outside the grocery stores. Like, I'm thinking, hey, it's 2022. Why aren't we doing some Google ads or like Facebook ads or something like that? So my interest is piqued of, you know, that's an old technology, I guess, but it worked for you, right?
It did work for me. It did work for me because it was like, you know, it differed. So we got people in. And to be honest, is that I'm like a natural introvert. So I was like, okay, I don't want to do reels or anything like that to kind of like, you know, I didn't want to, you know, jumping up and down on TikTok or doing reels or anything like that. So I was just like, just a little thing right here, and whoever calls me. Now, we definitely could have probably 10 times, 100 times our efforts at that time. But that organic, boots on the ground, guerrilla marketing did work for us at the beginning. And a lot of networking, a lot of meeting people and talking about the business. So I had to get really comfortable with talking about the business as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've learned along the way also is you get opportunities by talking to people. It's one of my principles, and I say it often. But whatever that thing is that you want, whatever that opportunity is, whether it's dating or if you're in sales and you're trying to find prospective buyers, or if you're trying to sell something yourself, or you're looking for a job, like you have to, the like quickest way, the straightest line, if you will, from like point A to point B is connecting with people. And a lot of folks think that just sitting behind their computer will lead them to that promised land, or spending time on chat boards or whatever. But you have to go out and mix it up, because people are the ones that are doing the purchasing on the other side of that computer screen. So tell me a little bit about like the networking efforts that you did and how that exposed you potential like new opportunities or new customers.
Honestly, what I've learned before I even get into that is that people naturally want to help you, right? They just need to know what it is that you want and what it is that you need. And I found that if I got in front of groups of people and I was very clear about what it is that I did and how I can help and that value, that they generally was like, okay. Or they would know someone that they can introduce me to. So I went to networking events. I partnered. I just feel like I did everything. I did eventually go on social media, honestly, LinkedIn, and I just had to be a little bit more confident. So like I said, I'm like naturally introverted, but when it comes to the business, I suddenly, for some reason, kind of brighten up, and now I can talk and be in front of people and that type of thing. So because I just generally know how it helps people. Like I literally see the effects of that. I see the shoulders release and the sigh of relief and the self-care that comes with it. Like I was able to do this because you were able to take this task off me. So that helps me to just be a little bit more confident when I talk about the business and go different places.
Yeah. You just reminded me of something that some people think of these, like outsourcing some of these household chores, if you will, as maybe like a waste of money or a financial burden or something like that. But you only have so many hours in a week, right? And again, if you're taking care of that list of things that, I almost said laundry list of things. If you're taking care of that list of things to do, job, spouse, kids, events, you're going to run out of time. So, God forbid you afford yourself like a weekend day off where you can just like sit on the couch and recover or treat yourself. You got to do laundry, the dishes, prepare for the next week, go grocery shopping, etc. I started to flip how I looked at stuff like this. I hired a maid years ago, and that was like a luxury for me. And it wasn't even that expensive. I had like a small 1-bedroom apartment, but I had a 2-hour commute every day to and from work. And it was having her come every other week on like a Friday or something. Walking into my apartment that was cleaned and I could start my weekend felt amazing. And there was things that she would do that, I didn't necessarily think that needed to be done, but like I was relieved that they got done. She would clean the coffee pot carafe for me. I was like, oh, that looks clean. That's nice. But like, it's an investment into yourself, right? It's an investment. Like if I took time to do that, or if people were taking the time to do their laundry, that means they can't spend that time somewhere else, right? You have to take it away from leisure or rest or a kid's sporting event or date night with your spouse. So it's an investment into yourself. I think you said self-care earlier, and I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way because it's two things for me. So first is like the value of your time. And it's like there's so many things that can help you get time back to yourself. It's always like that cliche where we say, it's just not enough time and I just don't have enough time and it's only 24 hours, and it's like so important that we kind of spend time doing the things that we actually value, right? And our days shouldn't be filled with doing things that we just like, oh my gosh, I hate, right? There's some things that we have to do, right? We know we got to shower, we brush our teeth and all that good stuff, but there's some things that people can take away. So sometimes it's like, I'm not saying don't ever cook, but there are opportunities to kind of sometimes like, you know what? I'm going to order out today. I'm going to have somebody else bring me some food. Or with moms, I need time, and there are services that can come in and help with the kids and that type of thing. So I think we have to get more used to valuing the time that we have and just having that self-care and spending it with the people that we really care about or the things that we really want to do. So whether it's read a book or, whatever it may be, but just really just doing that self-care. So that's just really important.
Yeah. So at this point, we've tested the hypothesis that we had an idea, and then we found people who were interested. And then we found those same people were not only interested, but they were interested buyers, ended up buying. You ended up doing the work, figuring it out as you went. Yeah. And then as far as like I know we talked about the pricing, but on logistical, like business, I guess operational side of the business, you started doing it at your house, but I imagine at some point you grew to a point that was no longer feasible. So talk me through some of those middle steps of past the testing phase to scaling up and being more operational.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of little steps, to say the least. So one of the steps, and I think I'll go out of order just a little bit, is that we realized that once we had people's clothing, it was other things that we can do, right? So I know in marketing, they call it pocket share. So it's kind of like, if I have your clothing and I'm doing laundry, what about your clothing that needs dry cleaning? What about your clothing that's missing like that button or has a broken zipper or pants that need to be hemmed? So that's when we started expanding our services. And we realized that we can now do all of that. If we're going out and we're doing certain things, we can do that as well. So we ended up starting into the dry cleaning field and doing the alteration. So now we offer all three. Then we, of course, as we talked about, like taking it from me driving and picking up to now I can hire someone, like even on a part-time basis to like help me drive. So why don't I do that? Our service area expanded. So we kind of like, instead of just doing this city and this town, we were like, well, how about if we expand a little bit and go further out, which then gave us more reach. Then we realized that we can use laundromats and get more capacity because, of course, they have all these machines. We didn't have to own a laundromat. We could just use their facilities. And then we decided that we didn't just want to do residential clients. There were businesses that have needs as well. So you have like your medical centers, you have your spas, your gyms, you have your sports teams, your hotels. There's so many different areas that you can like expand into. So we've taken little steps in so many different things to kind of make it what it is today.
Excellent. Question for you. Doing laundry isn't new, right? And there's always been commercial laundry services. I've worked in hospitality. People would pick up the chef's coats and the towels and the tablecloths and, I forget the vendor's name, but they would do that commercially. I know some laundromats, you can drop off your clothes and they'll wash them for you, but then you got to go pick them up. Yeah. So it's not necessarily a new concept, but I think that you had a unique approach to this that I don't think I've seen before. But again, laundry is still laundry, dry cleaning is still dry cleaning. Do you think that it was more so of like a marketing, putting those pieces together of these different things people need and don't want to do them because it's a pain in the butt? I have the idea and I have the concept. Now I just need to let people know that it exists and I'm the person. So that's the idea. And then the marketing piece of it would be to like let people then know that this is what you do. So do you think after its initial inception, that was like largely a marketing effort, or do you think that it was more like novel than that, if that question makes sense?
Right. So I feel like what I do and how I do it, I never looked at it as like a marketing thing. So I naturally am a service-minded person, if that makes sense. So what I do is that I love to be of service, right? And there's always some flaws when it comes to different businesses, because you're right, it's not new, it's not novel. People have been washing clothes since the 1800s, right? But what I do is that I make sure there's a culture that kind of makes it a little bit different. Right? So it kind of makes it a little bit more personalized service. We customize service. We make it convenient. We have price transparency. We have great communication, great quality. And I think when you put all those things together, that's what makes the brand just kind of stand out amongst others. And I think that's what we've done a great job of. It's just standing out. We have maintained a 5-star Google rating for 3 years. Have there been issues along the way, human error along the way? Definitely. But what stands out is that people know know that we're a company that really they can trust. We're responsive. If there's ever an issue, there's someone you can reach out to on the team. Send us an email and we'll get back to you in 48 hours. We strive to do things right and to make things right. And I think like the heart and culture and the values that I've instilled in myself and my team, they come out in how we do it. And then it's also, we know things that other people may not know, right? So after doing this for a couple of years, there's things that I know that I now can tell other people and help people. So that's when we started becoming what they call a thought expert or whatever. So we started writing articles and we started being featured in different things. Just telling people the story about, hey, how you can do this too, and not laundry, but just in general when it comes to things that you may want to do, but also how to take care of your clothes. So we know that people are just like, oh, I need this shirt, and they just throw it in, And so we're teaching people how to properly take care of their clothes and how to make it last longer. So that puts us in like in a different category too. So we're not just providing a service, but we're also educating as well. And I think that stands out to people. But we're a local brand with a face to it, right? And even as we continue to grow, there's still like a face to it. We're the ones sponsoring your child's baseball team, or you see me at the grocery store. Where other companies, you don't know the CEO, the owner of that company. You're getting service. They come, they pick up, and that's it. There's no hello, hi. They don't know your daughter just got married or your sister just graduating. But those are the type of conversations that we have with our clients because that's the culture that we have. So even as we scale, we still keep those things and those values inside and think of those things.
Yeah, excellent. The culture that you mentioned, there's things I value as a consumer. Interacting with organizations or purchasing things from organizations, I value those other attributes. Like I'm willing to pay more for a product from a company that maybe aligns with their principles, align with my principles. Not even that, but that I can see it in action, right? That I'm able to talk to a person when I call customer service, that they resolve matters objectively and fairly when there's matters to be resolved. And that typically you can just tell when you're working with a representative who isn't the owner of the company. You can tell when the company treats them poorly because they have a terrible attitude. And it's nothing against them, but it's the organization. There's some huge Fortune 100 companies out there that treat their employees abysmally. And then you go into these places of business and you could just know that they're underpaid, they're mistreated, they don't get sick days. And these are big companies that you wouldn't necessarily think of. They have all the power and capacity to make it better, but they're choosing not to. And that's really unfortunate. But like you said, you have to be thoughtful and mindful and deliberate about creating that sort of culture for yourself, your employees, your company, and your consumers will see it and they'll want to keep doing business with you. I don't know your price points, but even if your price point was higher than competitors, I would still do business with you because of how you treat me, right? And it's the little things that go a long way.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we do. We definitely look for the long term. We obsess over our clients, and that's just the culture. We want to be that trusted partner when it comes to making your life easy. And that's what it's, so I always tell my staff, our goal is to make their life easier, not harder, right? So if there's different things that we can do to help out, we're definitely going to do that. So sometimes it does require for us a little struggle and hardship on our side. We have clients that live on the 4th floor with no elevator, So yeah, it's kind of one of those things we could easily say, no, we're not doing that. Or we're going to charge you a $50 stair fee. But you know what I'm saying? It's kind of a little inconvenience at this time, but to help someone out. We've made beds for a client that just had surgery. So we brought in the laundry and it was just oh my gosh, I just had surgery. I'm not going to be able to put the sheets on the bed. Okay, a few minutes out of our time to really help someone. Those are the things that is going to really stand out, for us. So yeah.
And then word of mouth, I think, is still one of the biggest ways where companies grow. And that person that you made the bed for is going to be to their friends and family, you wouldn't believe just what happened from the laundry service. I don't know these people. They just washed my clothes and I said, thank you, but I'm not going to be able to make the bed. And they made the bed for me.
Yeah.
That's all good buzz.
It's a great culture. We have definitely a sense of humor. We have your personal and private things, right? We have your heirlooms and everything else. We're the ones that are taking care of your clothes. So we're the ones taking things out of your pockets and we make sure we return everything. We've had someone actually left a remote and they closed. And we had to run and stop what we were doing and run and give them the remote. We were like, oh my gosh, we need to turn the TV. You can't turn the TV, because we have the remote. So we have to go and give it to you. But we have stories like that. We've gone on sock investigations when someone lost like a lucky pair of socks. And they were like, oh my gosh, I can't find the socks. And it was just like, this is my lucky pair of socks. And I was like, all right, everybody stop. We have to find these pair of socks. What happened to these pair of socks? So it ended up that it was stuck in their comforter or something like that. But it's the little things that count, and we don't discount anybody in their situation because we easily can be like, you don't stop calling me about some socks. But it was just like, no, we got to find these socks.
Let's take a quick break from today's episode. If you're enjoying the conversation, take a second to like, follow, or subscribe wherever you're tuning in. We'd really appreciate it. You can also find us on Instagram at Randall Osché. That's RANDALLOSCHE. And check out more at podcast.randallosché.com, including show notes and other resources from today's episode. All right, back to the conversation.
What were you doing before you had this idea?
So there was a gap. So I've been an entrepreneur for a while, I will say that. And my most recent one right before this was events. I had some event venues. I love to party. I love to celebrate. I feel like if you can't celebrate yourself, you're not going to be able to celebrate others. So I just really love doing stuff like that. But then, of course, 2020 came, so you know what happened to all events. So I was in a transition period. So this actually came at a time where I didn't really know what my next step was going to be. And so, in all honesty, the fact of me seeing what she was going through, this was actually more of a, like I said, it was like a side hustle. It was kind of like, how can I make some extra cash until I figure out life? And then, of course, it's grown. But yeah, I was definitely in a transition period. I was doing a lot. I was Ubering. I was pet sitting. I was doing a lot of things at this time when this business happened.
Some people think of like overnight successes and things like that. But I know from myself, the people that have been on the podcast, that, it's not a thing, right? And every sort of step that you've taken before this moment I'm sure has helped you like be successful in what you're doing right now with the laundry basket. But as you look back historically, do you see like a direct correlation between some of your early lessons as an entrepreneur and that those helped expedite your journey to success with the laundry basket?
Yes, definitely. I definitely feel when you offer something of value, the money will come. And that's one of the lessons that I've learned. So I learned not to put like, oh, I gotta make money, like we want to make money, don't get me wrong. But when you offer something of value, like the money just naturally just comes, right? And so I've always been a person that wants to offer value. In any situation I've been in any business I've been in, it's about how can I offer value? How can I make an impact in the community that I'm at? I truly believe that when we go into these communities, we have to give back. So I've always been a give back type of person. So that's just really just been like my persona. And I've also realized that the entrepreneurial journey is like, it's a journey, right? And you can't do it by yourself. So you can't like be in a silo because that's where all these thoughts start coming into your head, like worry and concern and comparison and like, oh, that person is doing better than me and that type of thing. So if you surround yourself with people who support you and encourage you and that can offer you a safe space, I think that really helps. And so I know for me, that has really helped me along the journey and being in proximity around people that I aspire to be like as well, right? So I don't like envy them. I kind of like, it's inspiring to me to surround myself with people who are doing the thing. So those are some of the lessons, and to always bet on yourself, dream big and bet on yourself. Because like I said, I would have never thought from standing in that living room that we would be where we are now in different states and countries and doing what we do and just the opportunities that we've had. I would have never imagined that, but I believed in myself, so yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I've done, I don't remember, 20 plus podcasts, and, there's things that I'm learning along the way, and that's kind of the intent of this, but like people need people. I sort of thought that before, but not until I started doing the podcast and doing the interviews is like, I thought it was optional, I guess, before. But like, no, it's a must. You can't do these big things on your own. And for various reasons, whether it's like emotional support or like financial support or just being around people who are also trying to do bigger things for inspirational, to inspire you or to educate you or to help get each other unstuck. It's a requirement. It's a must have, not a nice to have. Yeah. There's a book I actually read, like Bet on Yourself. I think that's the actual title. But yeah, I think that another thing that people are dismissive of, like, oh, I can't do this. Nobody has this figured out. We're all just trying to go through life and figure it out as we go. There's no golden tablet here. So tell me a little bit about where the business is at today. So you started July 2022. We're recording this June of 2025. So almost, that's almost 3-year anniversary. So 3 years into it, a couple questions. One, if you don't mind sharing, how long into your venture did it take you to become like profitable? And then 2, where are you at today?
Got you. So as far as being profitable, it took us year 1.5 around that time frame for us to really get into a groove and really say, okay, really have a handle on like our expenses, really hone down our pricing. So 1.5, maybe even 1 year and 9 months, let's just say, around that time. We've been able to 9 times our revenue. So now that we've expanded into different things, we have like sweet spots where we know that this is where our ideal client is. And we know how to talk to them, right? So I always feel it's about like messaging. It's not so much, honestly, what you sell, it's how you message it and package it. And I think we come from that thing of like, hey, this is something that we know that you do not want to do. And we're here to provide a service that is quality. We're an on-demand service, so we're 7 days a week. We have these convenient hours. So we make it hard to say no. So I will say that our rate of conversion is really high because we really make it the offer hard to say no. We make it an easy platform. So once again, we are in different states now. So we're opening hubs in like Atlanta and South Florida the end of this year. International expansion. We have a product line now. We're a team of 9. Yeah, we're just doing the thing. And we also make sure that we have that community impact. So we work with local nonprofits, and as they get clothes donated, we launder them and we deliver them to our unhoused population. So we're doing some really cool things, and a lot has happened over the past 3 years.
I mean, I think it's pretty phenomenal progress for a 3-year window. Kudos to you. I mean, that's really some big stuff. So 18 months to become, we'll say 18 months to become like profitable. Again, we talked about it a little bit earlier. I think there is this general misconception of like, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to start a side hustle, and it's going to start making me money. If that happens, good for you. But I think that's the exception and not the rule. I think the rule is it's going to be harder than you think and take longer than you think. And I think one of the guiding principles there that you mentioned earlier as well is that, of course, you wanted to make money, but you weren't driven by that. You were driven by doing something that was adding value to a community and to people who needed this type of service.
Correct.
Who is your ideal client?
Wow. So we are more profitable in the dry cleaning space. So it is a client who has laundry and dry cleaning needs. It tends to be a dual income family, and maybe one person is someone who's like an accountant or someone who travels a lot. And so dry cleaning is like a thing because we want to capture laundry and dry cleaning at the same time. And then that will then automatically sometimes have the alterations because buttons do pop and zippers do break and that type of thing. So I would decline as someone who can probably utilize all 3 of our services. But I will say that we have other target markets that are just as great. So you're a professional person, so that may be single who's just busy. Obviously, your mom with kids who is just trying to juggle it all, and they're in so many different activities, and they're coming home dirty, and then it's just who has time. And then seniors has been an ideal market for us as well. We work with a lot of caretakers who are like, they're busy, and now you add mom and dad to that mix who needs care as far as their laundry needs, their bedding needs. So that has actually been a growing segment for us, is that market of seniors. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me a little bit about your expansion. I think you started in like the greater DC area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And then how are you expanding to other markets, other cities now?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Yes, so I live in Maryland. So we started off servicing Maryland, DC, and Northern Virginia. And then I would go places. Or I would just meet people and they'd be like, oh man, when are you coming to Florida? When are you coming to Atlanta? When are you coming to wherever? And I was like, oh, that type of thing. And then I really started thinking about it. I was just like, this model that we have, why can't we bring it to other places? So then our first stop was in Cleveland. I had a friend in Cleveland who had the same situation. She called me and she was like, I'm buying new clothes and I'm not. And I was like, oh, I hear the story again now. What's going on? But I told her, I said, so she was like, you need to bring your service out here. And I said, if you find me 9 other people who feel the same way as you do and would, subscribe to this service, will bring it. And it took some time, but she was like, I got it. And that's how we expanded into Cleveland and started something there. So the model is that it is, like I said, we use the facilities of like laundromats and dry cleaners. So when they're at low capacity or when they're closed, it's when our staff comes in and actually does the work. So we create partnerships with them. And so that gets them money, that gets us a place to do stuff, and we have the space and the opportunity that we need, and then we provide service for them. So it's a nice little partnership that we have. So really the model when we bring it into different places, it's that we partner with laundromats and we provide just the staff. But we are moving to a more, and I don't like to say it, but like more like an Angie's List, where we partner and then now they actually do the work and we just kind of like outsource it to them. So we're still trying to see which model really works for us, but that's how we're able to just really expand the business.
Obviously, you can't be in multiple cities at the same time to do this for folks. Are you like franchising this, or are you hiring people in those cities to work for you and then partnering with the facilities to do the laundry?
All three, a mixture of all three. So we do have the trademark for the laundry basket. So our goal is to franchise. It is a process. And so until we franchise, we've done a little bit of licensing here and there, a little bit of partnering here and there. And then, some of them are actual corporate locations that we look at them as corporate locations and we just kind of outsource. So some of them we actually hire drivers and they go pick up and then they take it to the laundromat and get done. Some of them we outsource everything. So we do have a relationship manager that is one of the seniors on our team. And so his job is to go to all the different locations. So boots on the ground, make sure that he has an eye on what's going on in these different cities, since I can't be there at each one. Establish that relationship with our partners and make sure they're doing the right thing. The quality is there. And so that's how we're making it work.
Excellent. Still like figuring it out.
Still figuring it out.
Okay. I have a selfish question. I
can't do what you do, Randall.
Hey, this has got my wheels turning. Like I might be one of the partners, so we'll see what happens. I'm in Florida, so I'm on the Panhandle, like Southern Alabama, Florida, but it's very Destin, Florida, but it's very transient with tourists. Yeah. So I don't know how that works here, and it's Florida, so there's of course a lot of elderly folks as well. But as we're talking, my wheels are turning. So we're gonna put that on pause. But I do have a question. I saw that you have an MBA.
Yes.
I have a difficult relationship or challenging relationship. I'll say this: I have a love-hate relationship with traditional education. And I say traditional education because I mean, like, this is educational to me now, but like going to school, like the 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. sort of model, like elementary school, middle school, high school, college, all of that is what, whether it's private or public, like that's the traditional way of getting educated in the United States. I don't think that that's an ideal model for the majority of the population. Other countries have proven that it's not the ideal model because they do it differently and get better results. But that's not what this episode is about. But I have recently, for my own reasons, been considering getting an MBA. So I was just wondering, I guess, like, high level, was it worth it? How did you get your MBA? And did what you learn in that MBA program help you be the entrepreneur that you are today?
Wow. That's such a question. That's a loaded question. I will say, I'll go backwards. Do I feel that people need an MBA to be successful in business? Absolutely not. I will definitely say that. I agree with that. Do I see some value in it? Yes, I do see value in institutions of learning what is not just book knowledge, right? So I think that not all programs are the same. And so I definitely would, if someone were going to do it, a school, which is not just a teacher just talking to you, it's situational, right? Where it's like you get actual case studies with real businesses, not just what the book says. And I think that that helps, right? So to be able to take a business, which is one of the projects that we had to do, to take a business, talk to the owner, help them directly with marketing and customer segmentation and financials and all the things that happen. I think that that is of value, but you definitely don't need it. What I've learned is just loving on people and being an asset to people. And, I think that's more of what's missing now in businesses is just serving the people that we say that we want to, have business with. It's just creating an experience for them and giving them exactly what it is that they need, not what we need, not what we want, but what is it that the people are saying that they need or want. And then kind of marrying that with making sure that, it's profitable and all those things with it as well. But I think that's a different skill set than like a book knowledge, if that makes sense.
I would agree. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have a difficult relationship with like traditional education is I think it's beneficial, certainly. I think education is beneficial, period, full stop. But you can get educated at a public library, right? You can get educated audiobooks.
Yep.
You can get educated having conversations like this. Education, beneficial, period, full stop. I think the right situations at the right universities, especially when you have to pay tuition, you have to really be careful with like what that return on investment is going to be and if it's going to be worth it for the outcomes that you want to produce for yourself. So thank you for sharing your experience there.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, as a mom of an 18-year-old who we're sending to college, so this is my first child in college, I definitely am like, wait a minute, when did this happen? When did school get so expensive? And like, for what? What are we actually paying for? But once again, like you said, that's another thing for another day. But I don't get how we're spending mortgages on education. That to me is just ridiculous, that concept. And like, what in the world? So, but anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can unpack that a little bit if you want, but I applied for, I don't know when this is going to come out, but I guess this is the first time I'm going to tell the world. I applied for, and I was accepted into an executive MBA program in Lisbon, Portugal.
Oh, okay.
And that is 43,000 euros, I think. But that's expensive for Europe and how Europe does like education, but an MBA program in the United States, like that's not expensive at all. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's the marketplace. This is like, I think a uniquely American problem. Mm-hmm. The marketplace expects people to be highly educated, have advanced degrees, and then pay them $50,000.
Yeah.
Like that.
It does.
The math doesn't math on that.
Exactly. That is definitely the issue as well. That is definitely the issue. So, As
we wrap up here, there's some questions I always like to ask my guests, and I might throw in a new one here. What is the most influential book you ever read?
Wow. Okay, so I am going to go with Traction. I'm going to go with the book Traction, and I don't ask me too many questions about it, but I remember being like, oh my God, this book is so amazing. And that's the thing, like, as an entrepreneur, I'm always learning different things. So it goes back to what you said about like the whole traditional learning institutions. I'm getting so much knowledge just from living and just being around people and books. I'm getting so many different nuggets that are helping me along the way. So there's so many different books that have kind of helped me. Definitely some books about, I'm reading, what is this, duct tape marketing, that's helping me with my marketing strategy. I'm reading Managing by the Numbers, which is helping me for like financial strategies. So many different books, but I do remember reading Traction and being like, oh my gosh, it's great.
Yeah, we'll look it up and put some of the information in the show notes here. And then the other question, I think I'll probably have a bit of a preamble into this though. I'm a pretty rigid person. I find what works for me and I stick to it. I like to exercise and I like to see the results. So when I'm exercising and I'm eating right, I can eat the same thing and I can stay in that lane. But if I deviate from that lane and if I have pizza, it takes me a long time to get back into my habits and my routine. Mm-hmm. And I find like the same thing, starting my day every day with like a similar routine I find what works for me. I look at it like a recipe for success, right? So if I wake up in the morning, I'm fortunate to have a remote job, so I don't have to commute, thank goodness, anymore. But, I'll make my coffee, I journal, and, that sort of like kicks my day off. But when I journal, one of the things I journal about in the morning is like, what's going to make today a successful day? And it's not a to-do list, but it's those things that I know that if I do will make me the best version of myself for that day, like journaling, eating right, exercise, reading a little bit, not for hours, but 15 minutes, get it in. I'm trying to learn Portuguese, so I have an app and I like to do the 5 minutes on the app to like keep my streak going. But like I know if I do those things, I'm going to feel good about myself, and that's going to lead me to be more productive on other things throughout the rest of the day. And I'm just wondering if there's anything that you do similarly that if you do on a daily basis that you're going to show up as the best version of yourself more consistently because of those habits that you're doing.
Yes. So first I would say, because now as soon as you started talking, I was like, oh, my other book, Atomic Habits, because it talks about that. So that is an amazing book. It is about discipline, consistency, focus, and being intentional. So those are the things that really help me day by day. So I spend my time being intentional, and I do time blocking every day. I do wake up at a certain time every day. And I think part of it is honestly just my body chemistry. So I do wake up every morning. I'm around 5 a.m. No matter what, my body wakes up at 5 a.m. Don't look at me like that, Randall. But I also go to bed at like around 8:30. So my body is kind of trained. But that morning time is a time for me to kind of relax, meditate, get some prayer in, and really just start the focus for my day and how my day is going to look. So that is my me time, my self-care in the morning. And then like my schedule is very regimented as far as like I do different activities during certain times of the day. I do eat at a certain time of the day. And I just have really consistent behaviors. And I am kind of disciplined. I'm not disciplined as much in other things, but there's some things I'm really disciplined. And my time is one of those. It's one of those things. So I do spend my time wisely and I get a lot of stuff done there. I have very productive days. And I think that has helped me as well, because just the way that I look at time and, how I spend my time. So, but yeah.
I need to start doing some time blocks. I work throughout the day, and sometimes I don't get up at 5 a.m. I will never. I wish that I could, but I'll work throughout the day, and often if to get in my exercise, I'm going to the gym like 8:30, 9 o'clock or something like that. But I don't think I'm being as effective because I'm doing things as they come up. Sometimes more reactive than proactive, or missing things. I think one of my biggest challenges is there's a lot of things that you can do throughout the day, but like you got to really identify your highest value activities or your highest leverage activities and make sure you're doing those. And sometimes I get sucked into being busy but not productive. And I think the time blocking will really help me making sure that like, oh, it's 2:30. I designated the next 2 hours to work on this high value activity. I really need to make sure that happens.
Yeah, definitely. I do feel like that definitely works. I like to get out the stuff that I really don't want to do, like I really hate doing. I like to get that out the way, because if I leave it at the end, because I'm like, oh, okay, I'll get to that, it'll never get done because I hate doing it. So I've learned to just, when I wake up, for me, I'm the most productive in the daytime. After like 2, 3 o'clock is like my what are we talking about? What are we doing? So most of my meetings are like in the morning. Most of those things that I really don't want to do, I just knock out. I just like wake up, I'm productive, I'm feeling good, whatever, and I knock it out. So I know how my body rhythm is. And so I know kind of like I'm doing this a little later because, stuff like this excites me, right? It gives me joy to talk more about the business and to meet new people. But usually I don't do any type of thing that requires brain power after a certain period of time. So, not saying that this doesn't require brain power, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
But yes, it will help, because those things that take up your time, I can watch Instagram. Like I have a friend who sent me something like, look at this reel on Instagram. And then I fall in the Instagram hole because, and they're really smart, right? That's smart marketing, because they know you can't, it's like a chip. You can't watch one video and they automatically make the next video pop up and you're like, oh man, look at these little babies. They're so funny. Look at, and then you just start, before you know, it's been like an hour and you're like, wait a minute. So
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I know, I don't do it all the time, but when I'm really trying to stay focused, I'll set timers for 45 minutes and then I will turn my phone on silent. I'll turn it upside down. I'll put it to the side. And until that timer goes off, I'm not checking it. I'm not responding to phone calls. I'm just like staying dialed in, take a 15-minute break, reset that timer for 45 minutes, and then I'll keep going.
Yeah. It does something for you to be productive. Like when you get stuff done, it gives you like a little endorphin boost and you're like, I got stuff done today. So definitely.
Yep. I heard this quote a while ago, but it's progress equals happiness. And I think when you're being productive, you're making progress, and you do get that dopamine, and it does make you feel good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Where can our listeners go find your business, go find you, connect with you online?
Okay. So the first place, of course, is come to our lovely website is laundrybasketdelivery.com. We also hang out on Instagram at Laundry Basket Delivery. We hang out on Facebook at Laundry Basket Delivery. And you can always connect with me personally on LinkedIn, Hyacinth Tucker. There's not too many of us on LinkedIn. And so definitely connect with me there, connect with the business, and let's have fun.
Excellent. Hyacinth Tucker, thank you for your time today. It was a lovely conversation. I've learned a lot. So thanks for making time for us today.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
And that wraps up today's conversation on the Randall Osché Podcast. Thanks again to our guest for sharing their time, knowledge, and lessons with us. If the episode brought you any value, the best way to support the show is to follow or subscribe on your favorite platform. That helps us reach more people like you. You can also visit podcast.randallosché.com for blog posts, full transcripts, and other episode resources. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and keep moving forward.